Okay, this is a review of the first collection of JMS's Spider-Man run. So let's get going. One thing that needs to be said from the beginning of this review, of the first part of his run, is that this comic is executed to perfection, or at least near perfection. JMS handles Spider-Man exactly the way he should be as an adult after going through his high school and college years. At this point in Spider-Man's comic history, he was nearing 500 issues and had been through many journeys as a character, some of which was excellent and some of which sucked. Cough, cough, Clone Saga, cough. And at least for the first part of his run, in this first collection contains, he truly feels like he's growing up, now being a science teacher. But unfortunately, JMS's run also went south like David Michelinie's run in the 90s. Which is a run that I also do really like. That, however, is not the main focus of this review. In this collection, JMS introduces new ideas to Spider-Man right from the get-go. The most important new idea is that Spidey's powers might be totemistic in nature, meaning they were passed down for generations from some kind of spider entity. The sections with the character Ezekiel, who is introduced in the first issue of the run, focuses on this idea. He says that the people Spider-Man fights, the supervillains, they don't know it, but they're pretenders mimicking those totemistic powers, but that Spidey himself is, quote, the real deal, meaning his powers come directly from where they first originated. Then again, it is not for certain whether this is true, as Spider-Man himself points out. Maybe the spider had no purpose when it gave him spider powers. In a later part of the run, Ezekiel argues as to why it's simply not a random accident. This idea really adds a fresh, new layer to the character, but that is not what I like about this book the most. The thing I feel makes this book genius is making Peter one of the most likable characters I have ever read, making him human, but having that perseverance that makes him a true hero and a role model. I'll get into Peter himself later on. First, I would be neglectful in not pointing out John Romita Jr.'s excellent artwork. He's one of the most popular artists in the business, and his talent really shows in this book. I don't think his art is amazing when it comes to how the characters themselves look. For example, I think Spidey looks cooler on the cover of this collection, which is not drawn by Romita, but he says that his greatest strength is in storytelling, and that is 100% true here. Everything from the character expressions to the motion in the quite epic fight scenes is crystal clear and truly gets me engaged into what's going on. When the scene is big, the art is big. When the scene is personal, the character emotions and expressions are perfect. Back to JMS, he also handles Peter's family. In this case, it's really only two people, with incredible dimension. Aunt May can be annoying or one note if not handled correctly, like in the 90s series, a series that I also do really like, by the way. But Aunt May wasn't annoying in that series, but she rarely felt like a character I enjoyed seeing every time she appeared. Here, Aunt May is really caring and makes a genuine effort to deal with Peter's secret, and she even tries to help him, however she can. That, by the way, was a spoiler, but her actually discovering his secret is not what makes her character arc in the story, but how she deals with it. Oh, and even if it is a spoiler, as of now, it is retconned and she no longer knows. Thanks, one more day. Aunt May is really relatable, and she's given relatable qualities, especially in the moments where she is used for humor. My favorite comedic moment with Aunt May is her going to the airport to go to California, and she's making an excuse for Peter's web shooters to the security, saying it's a gynecology device that's hers. The security guards quickly stuff the web shooter back in the bag and saying, that's okay. There is also an issue in this collection, issue 39, that has no dialogue. I think it's issue 39. I could be mistaken. But in 39, I think there's no dialogue, so storytelling in the art is allowed to shine. But Aunt May has some of her best moments in that issue without any dialogue. Moving on to the second member of Peter's family is Mary Jane. JMS gives MJ lots of dimension, but she's characterized in a different way from how she was originally in the early comics. Though this could have to do with her growing up, like Peter did, so I'm fine with it. Before, MJ was really confident and she would brush her problems aside, but here she is very concentrated on her problems, at least her problems with Peter. I find it understandable because, as she puts it, Peter's life is pretty overpowering stuff. Later on in JMS's run, MJ and Peter move past this, though not in this book. And I really like Peter and her as a couple. They often have cute dialogue or discussions between each other. However, that's not to say that in this collection MJ is unlikable, but she also explains that first she needs to figure things out, quote, about herself as well as her relationship with Peter first, before she can really be with him. So later on, when she gets past this, it's believable, and she becomes a more fun character. Aunt May is in this book quite a bit more than MJ because MJ is in California, but MJ also gets good comedic moments in the short time she appears in, especially when she's talking to Peter about the amazing Lobster Man. I'll expand on MJ's dimension as a character in the later reviews of JMS's run. Obviously, the character handled the best is Peter himself. I like that JMS gives Spider-Man an issue or two of him just being a hero and not dealing with a big villain from an arc or dealing with a specific problem in an arc. It's just a standalone issue of Spider-Man being a good guy, and I really like that. The best example of this is issue 31, where Peter is back in Midtown High and someone starts shooting up the school. Peter is absolutely determined not to let a single kid get hurt, and he says himself that he doesn't care if his secret is exposed or if he is killed, as long as no one is hurt. In this issue, Peter has one of the most powerful quotes in this book, where he says, "It's not right. Kids shouldn't have to come to school thinking they're going to die. I won't have it." The ending of the issue is quite sad and a perfect conclusion to the themes in the issue. In another of the issues in this collection, Peter has an interesting commentary regarding his students, saying that now much of the innocence when he was their age is lost, and that their road in life will be much harder, which makes him more determined to work harder to teach them. The way JMS writes Peter throughout the book makes him truly feel like a regular guy I would like to hang out with. I think the only person I think is of equal to JMS's writing of Peter Parker is Peter David. But Peter David's a genius, so let's let that slide for now. Where was I? Oh yeah. I really wanted to specify on a scene that I really feel like JMS gets pretty good comedic mileage out of Spider-Man. He says he's walking down a building and a guy on a balcony is eating popcorn, and Spider-Man convinces the guy to give him his popcorn. And before he springs into action to fight the main villain of the story, Shade, Spider-Man is just picking his teeth and he says, "I need something to wash this down with." The final arc in the first JMS collection has a truly epic ending regarding Spider-Man, which feels like a great tribute to Amazing Spider-Man 33 and really shows the character's determination. Speaking of tributes to Amazing 33, check out Amazing Spider-Man 500, which is also written by JMS. Now that's awesome. Before we wrap up, let's briefly touch on the villains. The supervillains in this collection are Morlun, the Shade, which prompts a cool appearance by Doctor Strange, and he's just awesome, and two Doc Ocks. Most of them are nowhere near as developed or interesting as Spidey himself, but they do provide a few good lines or moments here and there. The villains are mostly here for Spidey to have epic fights, especially Morlun. Doc Ock in this book doesn't really get a lot to do, but he is well written in the few instances he is given stuff to do. His great line in the book is when he gives Spidey advice on how to defeat the new and more advanced Doc Ock, like this guy stole Dr. Octavius's technology, so they're fighting him, and so Doc Ock gives Spidey advice on how to defeat him, and Spider-Man goes, "You're helping me?" And Doc Ock just responds with, "No, I'm hurting him." There are also a few subtle hints to JMS's later story, The Other. When Peter's talking about the bullying situation at Midtown High to the coach, he says that the kids are getting... the coach says that the kids getting picked on have to, quote, evolve or die. In the end, this collection is just great, and I love it even though I've reread it a million times. If you like Spider-Man at all, I can't recommend picking this up more. Everything is just perfect. Perfect. It's a shame that JMS's run couldn't end with this level of quality, but I think that was mostly due to Marvel, harassing him, like telling him to tie into Civil War, tie into Back in Black, tie into a crappy retcon. But still, at least for this first part, JMS is on top of the world. And so is John Romita Jr.'s artwork. So, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for my next review. Actually, this review was shorter than I thought it would be. Okay, so, like I said, thanks for listening.